Welcome back again to the latest of our interview series. And today I have the greatest pleasure to be joined by Jack Schick. Jack is a fifth generation Lord Howe Islander. Hi Jack, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Simon.
So Jack, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone? Tell us a little bit about what you do, and also a little bit about sort of island life. And I understand you do a bit of sort of gardening and beekeeping, and tell us a bit about that as well.
Okay. Yeah, well, I run a guided walk up the tallest mountain on Lord Howe. That's Mt Gower. So I've been doing that for about 22 years now, and also run a fishing boat, fishing and sightseeing boat. Um, Runs around Lord Howe and out to Balls Pyramid, etc. Um, yeah, and the beekeeping's been going quite some time now. Since I was about 17, I've been keeping bees. That's more a pleasurable job than I wouldn't really call it a job, more just a hobby. And yeah, do a bit of this and a bit of that, and basically enjoy the island, main part.
So you've lived on the obviously
So
lived on the island most of your life. I know you had a bit of a stint in Sydney. I mean, what's it like? I mean, paint us a picture. What is it like living on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean?
um, well, you really don't know much difference when you're born and bred on a little place like this. It's sort of just in your blood, and you get used to it. It has its moments, of course, like anywhere. But I think the good thing about living here is everybody knows you, and if the chips are down, people help you out. Whereas I think in some other places, people might be a little bit more scared of you to help you. They're worried about their safety and all that sort of stuff. But everybody knows everybody in a small community like there is here. There's only around 380 people who live permanently here, so we all know each other. Um, Good and bad, but that's it. Yeah.
And that number of people's really low, and I think it's only matched equally by the number of tourists on the island. So it's a very small tourism area that you've got. It's a World Heritage Site as well. And getting around the island, I mean, a lot of getting around the island is on foot, on bicycles, isn't it? I mean, there's not that many cars. It's mostly pedestrian traffic, isn't it?
Well, there is a bit of cards. We have a fairly elderly population, so naturally they can't ride a bike or walk
Mm.
too far. So they do have vehicles. There's also a lot of public service vehicles, if you like. The island board all have vehicles to access this and that, and roadworks, dump facility, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of public works vehicles. Um, but yeah, a lot of people, particularly holiday makers, get around on push bike is probably the main mode of transport, I'd say. Yeah.
Now, talking about modes of transport, you one of the things you do, you've got to put it this way, you've got a particularly unique perspective of the island, haven't you? You've got another hobby, which I'm going to show a bit of video of, and you can tell us a little bit about this, which gives you a perspective that few others get of Lord Howe Island.
From up in the air, you're talking of, yeah. Um, that's myself and my hang glider just out over Malabar to the sort of northeast of the island, coming back now towards Middle Beach, the cliffs along Middle Beach. So with a northeast wind, yeah, it's quite a nice spot to fly a hang glider. Um, I learned to fly in the States actually in 1987. So yeah, it's a nice spot to fly at Lord Howe when it happens. I love being in the air, probably better than anything.
Is that one of the reasons why you've got a particular passion for seabirds? I mean, obviously you've grown up on the island, you can't not have some interest in seabirds. But how does your hang gliding? What does it teach you about that?
Yeah, I can remember as a kid just being fascinated watching birds fly, and I always wanted to fly, particularly gliders. I was never really that interested in flying power, but flying gliders. And I think from watching seabirds soar, that probably just gave that little spark of interest for me to follow my dream and learn how to fly a glider. So it's true flying, I think, a glider. Yeah.
I wasn't going to show. Well, actually, the landing on your video, which I didn't show earlier, was very, very smooth indeed. But quite unlike the landing of some of the other aerial residents of Lord Howe Island. So you mentioned your Mt Gower walk, and there's one particular bird that is extremely special to Lord Howe, the Providence Petrel, both being in a sort of in almost an endemic brooder. And that's been featured a lot in TV shows and things like that. And that doesn't have such an elegant landing. Is that something that people see when they go up on your walks to Mount Gower?
Yes, Simon. The Providence petrel here is here during the winter months. So from about the end of March through to November, with April, May being the best time to see the habit that you have pictured there now. They're courting, they're on the ground and make a lot of racket. And yeah, they just bomb down through the trees. And when you call out, you make a special call, and they'll come bombing down through the trees and pretty much just run up to you. So yeah, very special time of year when they're on the island at Providence Petrel. And as you can see, they're not afraid at all. You can come right up close to them um, and gently touch them. If you're very gentle, you can just touch them. They don't tend to bite that much. But yeah, beautiful bird.
And that is pretty much how you would land a hang glider if you had to bring it down in a forest.
Yeah, on top of a tree.
So tell us a
Yeah.
bit, little bit about the Mount Gower walk again. I'm going to show that bit of video. Tell it. So this is obviously a very special experience, and one of the things obviously that people often ask about is who it's suitable for, and what kind of people do it. Tell us a little bit about that day out and what it entails and the kind of people that tend to go on the walk with you.
It's the walk is a fairly long, hard day. It's about 8 to 9 hours, and you have to gain 875 meters in the day and also descend. So if anybody has knee or back problems, it's not a great one to do. There's plenty of other walks you can do on the island that don't hurt you quite as badly. So you do need to be in reasonable fitness. But it's a reasonably steady pace. Um, some people spin out a little bit with the height factor. So if you're totally afraid of height, it's not a good one either. But I think it's just that the track is generally a little bit rough. It's a bit of a rough track. So there's little, bits here to negotiate all over the place. So that sort of takes it out of you a little bit. But the down probably hurts you more than anything. The up, the up's not too bad, but the down can hurt you a little bit coming down. Big coming down.
You got
Yeah.
those beautiful, stunning views going along the edges of the mountain, and obviously at the peak, and that's the classic sort of Lord Howe Island view, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the views aren't always there. There's the likelihood of cloud, particularly in summer, is fairly high. The cloud top sits on the forest. You saw some forest shots there earlier. It's what we call a mist forest. So if there wasn't cloud on a fairly regular basis, that forest wouldn't exist up there. So probably around 65% of the time in summer when the air is moist and humid, the cloud top can sit on it. But it's you will generally get views from somewhere else during the day's walk. And sometimes it can be totally clouded when you leave, and by the time you get there, it's totally clear. So that's even better if that happens. You get best of both worlds. You can get the cloud forest sometimes, and then it'll clear for you. So I've seen it all, yeah, over the last 22 years.
So what's the best thing about the job you do, about taking tourists? What's the thing you most enjoy?
I I enjoy people, Simon. You can always learn from others, and I like chatting to people. And um, I think doing the walk too that I do, taking people on the walk, everybody's on the same level. There's no there's no hierarchy in that type of thing. So everyone does it as a group, and yeah, you can help people out, chat to them along the way. And, I have some good friends that I've made along over the years from the Mt Gower walk. Yeah,
And you're and to
good
be
fun.
constantly surrounded by all that bird life and nature, all the way from the sea all the way to the summit, must be quite incredible too.
Yeah, although we don't get the birds early in the day. It's They're out fishing early in the day, the Providence. So by the time we have lunch, though, they're coming in from fishing. They head out fishing at about 3 a.m. in the morning, and they're coming back from fishing by about 11:30 middayish. So we enjoy the birds during lunch, after lunch, and then on the way back home, you'll be seeing and hearing the birds wheeling around the mountains in the afternoon.
As a just
Yep.
one final thing, just to a question about Providence Petrels. So there's something in the name, isn't there? Quite a famous part of quite a famous story.
Yeah, that's right. The birds were also quite common at Norfolk Island, but in the convict days over there, and the the convicts were almost starving, and all of a sudden, all these birds start coming out from sea, coming back to land, and the convicts on Norfolk Island, along with the guards and other people there, ate those birds, and they estimate they ate about 450,000 of them over about a 10-year period. So the birds were wiped out from Norfolk Island. That was early days. Um, Although there is a small colony re-established on an island just off Norfolk, an island called Phillip Island. I think there's only about 30 pair there though, so it'll take a long, long time to get back to that type of numbers that were there pre-convicts.
And that's the irony of the fact that you still have your Providence Petrels and Norfolk doesn't. And we spoke to Ian Hutton yesterday talking about the possibility that you may be using Norfolk Island landbirds like red-fronted parakeets and boobuks potentially to reintroduce to Lord Howe Island in future, hopefully when the rats are proven to be gone, that went extinct a long time on Lord Howe as well. That's quite extraordinary. Lucky to have those two islands side by side. Jack, it's been very nice to talk to you. Thank you very much. As always, I would encourage everyone to jump onto Lord Howe Island tours and the Lord Howe Island websites. And it's such a history of the island. You can read about Jack and Ian and other residents. There's plenty of information online. Um, and the island was featured on the East Australian Current film on the ABC, on the Australian television a few days ago as well, which is worth checking out if it's still up there online on any streaming services. Follow Wildiaries and drop us a line if you want to know more. But thank you very much for your time, Jack. I really appreciate it. It's very nice to catch up with you again.
Thanks, Simon.
No worries. Have a good day. See ya.
Thanks, mate. You